this was an article on heavy.com that says an anonymous exec fears that Knicks rising star will request a trade. Okay, here's what this guy said. In a recent sit-down with Heavy Sports NBA insider Sean DeVenny, the insider was asked what players, if any, could realistically ask out of New York in the near future. In response, they mentioned Toppin as being someone people should worry about. Here's his quote. I think Obi is the one you worry about because he has done everything a guy like him can do to get more playing time. He has gotten better every year. He deserves to get more of a look on the floor. But as long as they have Julius Randle there, they are stuck. Thibodeau does not play Randle at center at all, so you can't ever have Obi and Randle out there at the same time. They will have an extension due for Obi next summer, and they probably won't give him that, but obviously they need to decide what they're going to do with him. If they want to package him and move him, they could. A lot of teams like him an awful lot. All right, so there is the anonymous executive. You always got to like these anonymous executive quotes.
You just remove the anonymous executive and make it a blog, man. Just say, hey, the Knicks probably have to trade Obi Toppin because X, Y, and Z. You don't even need the executive.
Facts.
Come on now.
You don't even need that. But nevertheless, I mean, look, it's stating the obvious. It was all facts laid out in the article. Not facts that he's most likely to move on, but his circumstance is all facts. He's buried behind Julius. They won't play together. They're never going to play together because the Knicks need Mitch out there to rim protect Hartenstein secondarily. So you're never going to see Randle and Obi together. He's shooting the ball very well from three. Obviously, we know what he can do in transition. He's having a good year off the bench in limited minutes. I just don't think he's ever going to... His rising star, his full potential, in my opinion, will never be realized in New York. It'll never be realized in New York because I don't see the Knicks moving on from Julius in an easy way. And I think this kid's going to be buried here. So then, there's going to come a point in time when does he look to other situations to bloom? Is it in Indiana? Is it a Charlotte? Is it somewhere else that he could potentially start somewhere? Because, yeah, it looks like he's having fun and him and Quick are high-fiving and alley-ooping and this, that, and the third. But this is a dollars and cents league. So the more time that he's sitting on the bench, the less M's is going in his bank account. He's 23, 24?
Yeah.
How many lucrative contracts is he going to sign throughout the length of his NBA career? Now, I'm not saying he's old, but he's older. You know, and I talked about this with Sam Mitchell on SiriusXM on NBA Weekend, and Coach was saying the same thing. We were talking about this situation with the Nets, and you know if they move Ben Simmons to the 5, how that impacts a guy like a Nick Claxton. And Coach said the same thing. Like, look, that kid's not going to be happy about that, and ultimately it comes down to dollars and cents, and you're going to be impacting this kid's wallet. So what's going to be interesting to me is with Leon Rose's son representing Obi, how do they move from a business standpoint? Gonna be very interesting to see how these next 2 years go with the Knicks and Obi, man. Very interesting.
Does his son start swinging at Leon? Like, can he get to that point in the crib? Like,
yeah, for real. How is that gonna play out? It's fascinating, man. I don't know, JD. What's your take on it?
Listen, man, you talked about the friendship with IQ, but as you mentioned, man, the more they go on, the more Obi's gonna look at IQ. Is like, listen, man, we can be friends from a distance too, because my contract is coming up, and you know I ain't get paid yet, and you know you talked about his age, CP. He's gonna be 25 years old before this season is over.
Oh, so he's 24.
He's 24 now. He's gonna be 25 in March. So he's going to be 25 shortly after the trade deadline. So, you know, you're talking about a player that, you know, is going to be entering his prime in a year or two, depending on what you base the prime at. Entering, you say he's 27, you say he's 28. He only has a couple years left. And we're talking about a guy that has yet to become a starter. He's a lottery pick. right now. Listen, I thought this last game was his worst defensive game of the week. But he also had a tough matchup. I mean, he had Kevin Love, and part of it is scheme as well. But CP, a player that has made an improvement in an area where a lot of people said in this system he's going to need to improve on, and that's the 3-point line. And that's what he's done. In other words, he's doing so far, he's showing improvement in areas that everybody is telling him this is where you need to get better at in order to continue to play and play more. Well, he's done that. He's shooting more threes at three attempts so far. He's shooting 50% from there, right? And he's playing less minutes, 15, than last season at 17. Like, how is that possible? Like, he hasn't even played more than 17 minutes this week. Like, how is it possible that this guy goes into a game, he's hitting 2-3 threes in a game, and you somehow can't get him over the 20-minute mark? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. It just does not make sense to me. And I understand that Randall is for the most part has played well. I don't think he's played as well as some people say, because I it's early, but I don't think he's played as great because the 3-point line, some things defensively that I'm seeing. But he's played well. He's played well for the system. But to me, not enough that you can't tell me that Obi can't find 23 minutes right now. That if Obi is hot here, he can get a little bit more. And so we've talked about the business aspect of it. Does the connection between the son and the father, does it make it easier to talk about it? Because you already have that connection. You don't have to, you can have that conversation anytime. Like, listen, we got to find a solution here soon. And don't forget what Ian Begley said at the beginning of the season. You were there, CP, where he said, the Knicks may have to make a decision between Obi and IQ at some point.
Yeah.
So are you going to end up with the player that's playing not as good as this guy just because he has an obstacle in front of him? Because right now, Obi seems to be the more valuable player in terms of production so far.
Sure.
And you have to find a way to maximize, the value of these players. Because I think one of these guys are not here long term.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because Leon is still trying to make moves. So this is the dilemma you're in. You're in a market, you're trying to be aggressive, but I don't know that they're doing the best job right now to again maximize some of these chips, because you're going to need them. And what's going to happen is, as we get closer to the deadline, if this is what continues, you're going to see all the reports. Well, we don't know about this guy yet. This guy, the Knicks are overrating him. His value is not so much. And you're going to get the Knicks tax. And you're going to have to give up more assets than maybe you needed to if you just give these guys a little bit more of an opportunity.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, if Obi can play 25 minutes, doesn't have to shoot 50. But let's say you shoot 39%. At this athleticism, trust me, that's a valuable player at the trade deadline. In this league, you look at that Charlotte Hornets team where they haven't made any improvements at the 4. So you saw some of the athleticism when we played them. I think they would welcome a guy like him. He would fit well with some of those young athletic players. If LaMelo gets back.
Obi and LaMelo, that'd be box office, bro. That'd be box office.
That'd be
box office.
Off the glass.
We're thirsty to see RJ give him lobs. And quickly give him a few lobs. Imagine LaMelo, who lives in the paint.
Obi and LaMelo would be ridiculous, bro.
So this is going to be something that's going to be very interesting, and I have no idea how this is going to play out. But right now, I don't like the way it's going, to be honest with you.
JD, to your point, isn't that what the league is? It's about spacing. Having guys that can shoot threes, a stretch 4, opening up the paint so that way guys can attack easily. I mean, that's what this new modern NBA, when we watch on a nightly basis, there's a lot of guys who put up a lot of threes. Obi's doing a good job shooting the 3. Tibbs talks about his improvement on rebounding. I thought last night against the Cavs, he did a good job, not always leaking out. I thought he did a good job staying and trying to get the rebound and look for the guard and have the guard push the pace rather than always trying to leak out. I thought he did a phenomenal job on that. But he needs to get more minutes, man. And look, according to per 36 right now, if he was on the court right now, he'd be averaging 8 rebounds. If he got 36 minutes a night, he can get you 8 rebounds. You know, I think the numbers are about, I think for last season that he said they could average 19 last season. Right now they have him at 22 per 36. He just needs minutes, man. He's just such an efficient player. His jump shot's looking better. He's shooting with confidence. He talked about that in the presser. He just needs time, man. And we're not going to know anything until it gets close to the deadline, unfortunately. This team is going to wait as long as possible to get the good deal for either Randall or Obi. And, you know, you talk about Begley saying either Emmanuel Quickly or Obi. Begley also wrote in an article saying he believes one of these draft picks this front office selected will get traded this year. One of them is getting moved. Yeah. That could be Obi, IQ, Grimes, you know, anyone. Someone's getting moved. And I wouldn't be surprised because they're still trying to add to this team. That, you know, shop's not closed. They're still trying to figure out how can they make a good team, not only to be a playoff contender, but they're looking for, like, hopefully championship aspirations at some point. Even though the journey is still out there, like it's still a long journey before you get there, they're still trying to fix and make this team better. So I wouldn't be surprised if Obi gets traded. I would be upset because I really do like Obi. I think he's just efficient. He's really good. He translates to the modern game. Does he still have areas to improve? Yeah, but that also needs more playing time on the court to see how to improve. You can only do so much in practice and with limited repetition.